Welcome to Lesson 8.3, the Education Credits. Tax credits are designed to offset tax liability in the form of refundable and non-refundable credits. The American Opportunity Credit is refundable up to $1,000, and the Lifetime Learning Credit is non-refundable. We'll talk about the American Opportunity Credit first. The American Opportunity Credit is designed for the first 4 years of college, so typically it will be someone enrolled towards an associate's, a bachelor's degree, or any other type of qualified program. Eligible expenses include tuition and fees required to enroll, any books, supplies, anything that is required by the school or course in order to be successful in that class. Expenses that are not eligible are room and board, travel, parking, anything that's not directly associated with your schooling. And then there's tuition that's covered by your grant or scholarships. If you're not paying for it and it's not coming out of a loan that you're expected to pay back, if it's not coming out of your savings or checking account, you're not going to claim that amount for the American Opportunity Credit. The full amount of the American Opportunity Credit is $2,500, but only $1,000 of that is refundable. The rest is a non-refundable credit, so can only offset the amount of taxes you owe. So, as we already talked about, it's designed for people in their undergrad or a 2-year program, and they must be pursuing a degree. It's only available for 4 years. So I know it takes a lot of students 5 or 6 years to get that undergrad degree, but it's only 4 years that you're able to take the American Opportunity Credit, even if you're still in your undergrad. So it's up to you as a volunteer to ask the taxpayer how many years they've taken the American Opportunity Credit. And if they don't know, they'll have to dig up their previous year's returns. But if they're only in their 3rd year of school, it's safe to assume that they've only taken it 2 times. All students taking the American Opportunity Credit must be enrolled at least half-time for at least 1 academic period during the tax year. So if they only went 1 semester and there was 2 available semesters in the year, they can still take this credit. For the American Opportunity Credit, the student cannot have a felony drug conviction. Dependents cannot claim the credit, so if the student is being claimed as a dependent, the parent or whoever is claiming them will be the one claiming the American Opportunity Credit, even if the student is taking out loans to pay for their schooling in their own name. If the filing status is married filing separately, they won't be able to take the American Opportunity Credit, and anyone claiming the credit must be a U.S. citizen or resident. This credit also cannot be claimed in conjunction with other education credits or the deduction. The second credit is the Lifetime Learning Credit. As we said earlier, this is completely non-refundable, so it only benefits people who have a tax liability. Eligible expenses are tuition and fees required to enroll, any books and supplies purchased from the educational institution for the Lifetime Learning Credit. So they have to be purchased from the school. So if we buy our books from Amazon, we won't be able to take that amount toward the Lifetime Learning Credit. Expenses that are not eligible again, or anything that is not required for the schooling, room and board, travel, parking, etc. And for this credit, we have a $2,000 limit per tax return. The Lifetime Learning Credit is available for all years of post-secondary education, so once students have used their 4 years' worth of the American Opportunity Credit, they'll be able to start taking the Lifetime Learning Credit. Grad students can also take the Lifetime Learning Credit because they wouldn't be eligible for the American Opportunity Credit. Also, people who are taking classes or courses to improve job skills and paying out of their pocket and not being reimbursed by their work can take the Lifetime Learning Credit. For example, if I'm a teller in a mostly Spanish-speaking neighborhood and I go take a Spanish class at Tri-C, I'll be able to take the Lifetime Learning Credit. However, if I'm a teller and I want to take a cooking class at Tri-C, I would not be able to justify or argue that that would improve my job skills. Once again, people who are married filing separately cannot claim this credit, and if you are someone else's dependent, you cannot claim the credit. In TaxSlayer, Form 8863 looks like this. If you're taking the Lifetime Learning Credit, you would click on that box there and enter the amount in the box up to $2,000. If you're taking the American Opportunity Credit, more questions will pop up once you click on that box there for the American Opportunity, such as the number of years the student has taken the credit. Remember, the student can only take this for the first 4 years of undergrad. It will also ask if the student was enrolled at least half-time and if the student has a felony drug conviction. I would like to backtrack for a moment and talk about the 1098-T. This is the tax document that students receive from their educational institutions. It's very important for us to have this document in order to see the actual amount paid. This document is usually easily found in their student account on the computer, so if they don't have it, encourage them to use a computer there at the tax site to check for it. This makes your job as a tax preparer easier if you have those numbers right there in front of you. So moving on, when you check the correct boxes and enter the correct amount of eligible expenses, TaxSlayer will automatically transfer the correct amount to lines 50 and 68, or only line 50 for the lifetime learning credit. Thank you for watching this training video. If you have any questions or comments, please email volunteer@refundohio.org.